Oh, yeah. And now, from North Platte High School's Studio B, welcome to Bulldog Banter, where students, stakeholders, and alumni come together to traverse the transformative power of education. This week's episode sponsored by the North Platte Public Schools Foundation and the Flower Market.
Hi, everybody. I'm Will.
I'm Blake.
And today we have Emily Garrick, our Ward 3 candidate and current Ward 3 board president. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
So we're going to start off. What was your school experience? Where did you go to school?
Well, that's a loaded question. I grew up in a small town called Colby, Kansas. Went to school there until my freshman year in high school. Moved to McCook, graduated high school from there, and then I attended college at UNK. But my school experience did not stop there because I actually then went into education as a teacher. So I have also school experience through the form of teaching at Hitchcock County Schools, Cozad Public Schools, here in North Platte Public Schools, and at Mid-Plains Community College.
Wow. Loaded.
Yeah, that's
Loaded.
a lot.
I warned you. Loaded question. Yeah.
Jeez,
That's great, though.
it is awesome. So you said that you were a teacher. Are you still a teacher?
I am not. No, you actually cannot be a teacher. You cannot be a teacher in this district and be on the board at the same time. That would be a conflict of interest. Since the board negotiates with teachers and sets their pay, that would not be really very cool of me to be doing that. So, no, I actually resigned from teaching, about 7 years ago was when I ended my teaching career in the public schools. I continued as an adjunct professor at the college a little bit longer after that, taught graphic design there. But since then, I have kind of entered the world of being an entrepreneur. So
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
yeah, so also another loaded question, I'll warn you. My husband and I actually I stopped counting at 8 businesses, so I roughly around there. The main business that is what I would consider my full-time gig is I do video production, and I also own a small marketing company. And so what you're doing right here is very similar to what I get to do on my day-to-day as well. So it's really cool for me to be here. On top of that, we own several rentals, including a short-term rental that I help manage, a construction company, a drone crop dusting company, an MMA gym, and a fight production company. So my days always look different, which is kind of how I like it. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was a lot. And that is
yeah.
also super cool. So who's like someone that's had a big influence on you and why?
So there's a lot of people that have had, a big influence on me, ranging from my parents to teachers growing up. I would say, when you're a grown up and you're married, a huge influence in my life is my husband. And when I think about somebody who really inspires me in my day to day, it is him. He's very much the kind of person that if he doesn't know how to do something, he's like the master problem solver. I swear he can learn anything from a YouTube video. And so being able to see him do that has really inspired me to try new projects, start new businesses, learn new skills. But simultaneously, he's like the most generous person. I'm not exaggerating when I say he would literally give somebody the shirt off of his back if they needed it. And, it's just really cool when you get to have a partner like that in life. And so he's really inspired my way of thinking and changed a lot of things in the way that I approach things too.
So speaking on the topic of husband, wife, does he get you a lot of flowers? Sometimes, yeah. I did put in a request this year that I would like more flowers. So Brad, if you're watching this, no, I'm just teasing. Yeah, he spoils the crap out of me. Not always in flowers, but, routinely with chocolates, caffeine, whatever I might need that day. Yeah. So per se, if he were to get you flowers, do you think he'd go to the flower market?
I think he would.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best place to get flowers, especially this is going to come out next week, but this weekend, prom, flowers, $5 Friday. Tell your husband, $5 Friday.
I will be sure to tell him it is Friday today.
Oh, it is
He
Friday.
better be there.
Let's go.
Yes.
Yes.
No, thanks for that recommendation.
Heck yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, sorry about that. Off topic, but so I think most high school, probably me and Blake, I don't really know a lot about the school board. And I think this is probably the perfect question to ask for your current president. So can you just tell us a bit about what the school board does, especially the president?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. I'm not even sure that I knew there was a school board when I was in high school. So I'm impressed that you guys even know we exist. So good job. The school board, so I'll kind of start from the beginning of how you even have board members. North Platte is divided into 3 wards. Within each of those wards, there are 2 school board members. So the idea with that is that you have a really well-representative board that represents the different areas of your community, the diverse needs of your community, that type of thing. School board members serve a 4-year term, so they alternate. So you don't ever have all 6 board members coming off at the same time. That could be, honestly, not great for the district. Because there's a lot to learn when you're a board member. You really don't know anything for like the first 2 years. So you want to have a little bit of continuity there. So what happens is every 2 years, there are 3 of those 6 board members, 1 from each ward, that are either up for reelection or there's a vacancy there if they don't file to run. So you've got new board members coming in, you've got some continuity. With that, as far as what we do, yeah, a lot of people are like, what do you do? First and foremost, I should tell you, this is not a job. We are volunteers, so we do not get paid for all the fun that we have. So a lot of people are confused about that. It's solely because we're passionate about education in our community, and we want to give back in that way. We meet once a month for our regular board meeting. And at that meeting, it's on a Monday night, that's where we take a lot of action. So if we're going to be updating policies, we're going to be approving contracts, maybe we are approving the school calendar for next year, those types of things. Those all happen on those regular Monday night board meetings. We also have awesome presentations that come in, so we get to hear from students. We see, who's received the Bulldog Award, Bulldog of the Month, the Staff of the Month awards, all of those things. That's kind of our business meeting. We also have another meeting that falls on a Thursday evening, and that rotates around the community in our different school buildings. So we were actually just here at the high school not all that long ago for our committee of the whole meeting. And those are a little bit more like work sessions. So that's where the board, may hear a lot of reports. We may get a lot of information. We might kind of be researching, diving into something. That's where a lot of the discussion happens that will eventually lead into the business that we do at that regular meeting. Beyond those meetings, you might be like, well, what do you talk about in those meetings and why are they 3 hours long, right? They're not all 3 hours, but sometimes they are. So in those meetings, the board's number one job is to employ the superintendent. So the school board actually is not the boss of your teachers, principals, directors, custodians, all of those individuals. The 6 members of the school board are the boss of only one person, and that's the superintendent, which is kind of a common misconception. So we hire that superintendent. We then are responsible for evaluating the superintendent, making sure that they're doing their job. And we oversee things like adopting curriculum. We oversee the budget, which when you're talking, tens of millions of dollars, it's a big budget. We also set the policies for the school district. And then we really are kind of that liaison, that community representative for the district. So ultimately, as a school board member, we don't have a boss at the school, but our boss are the people that elected us, if that makes sense. So school districts are funded by taxpayer dollars, which means that the taxpayers have to have a say in what we do with those. And so ultimately, sometimes I get some angry phone calls. Sometimes I get happy phone calls from the people in our community also that, have some ideas, have questions. They want to know what's happening here. They want to know, why their property taxes went up, those kinds of things. So it's again, one of those things that every day as a board member is different. But, it's all important work. Then as president, really I'm kind of tasked with running those meetings. I'm tasked with helping to set the agenda. And then there are certain other things that fall, also on the board president's role. For instance, we just hired a phenomenal interim superintendent that'll be coming in next year. We're really excited about that. But as board president, it was my job to negotiate their contract with them. So the board kind of gave me some direction, and then I had some phone calls with that individual, and we had some back and forths and came up with a plan that worked well for everybody.
Wow. So that all sounded like a lot, and it doesn't sound like you can get that done in all just the meetings. So does the work continue like in between those meetings too?
Yes. So yesterday, for instance, would be a prime example. I was at central office in separate meetings, not specifically board meetings, but meetings, negotiations with one of our groups in the district, a meeting to set the agenda. I was at central office yesterday for, I think, a total of 5.5 hours.
The day before that, I was in Kearney doing a training for about 6 hours, learning all about budgets. So it varies. You know, there are months where it is kind of just going to the meetings, and then there are months where it's feels very much like a full job. So yeah, it varies throughout the year for sure.
Would you say that like having all the businesses and the rentals where you have to like kind of do your own thing, do you think that helps a lot as being like the president of the school board?
I think so. You know, I used to very much be a person that would wait for direction. Like I was used to having a boss. I'm very checklist oriented. I love my checklist. And so I used to kind of be that person that was maybe a little bit nervous or anxious about doing things without somebody telling me to do it first, right? And that has definitely shifted when you own a business. Like you can't wait for somebody to teach you how to do something or to tell you what to do. You just have to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, you have to figure it out. And so I do think that that has equipped me well to be on the school board because there are a lot of things that I don't know. But I have to take that initiative to find out and to ask the questions and to do the research. And, you know, I think it's obviously even just time management. That's a skill that you learn. And when you run your own businesses, could I sleep until noon every day and work for a couple hours and then, you know, go lay outside of a pool for the afternoon? Sure, I could. Nobody's going to tell me I can't. But is my business going to be successful if I do that? And the answer is no. So really being a self-starter, good at time management, I think those are skills that have definitely helped a lot.
Wow.
So a lot of people that watch this podcast are students at the high school or at other schools. And so why is the school board important, should be important to us?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So you may not realize like day to day, you know, until the school board does things that upset you, like probably pass a cell phone ban policy. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. You know, other than that, you might not realize in your day to day what the board does and how it impacts you. And it may not be direct. Some ways are really direct. You know, we are setting policies and things that, you know, if we changed a lot of policies between this year and next year, it might change your school experience totally, right? But beyond that, there are so many indirect things that we're doing. So, you know, one thing that I've been really passionate about as a former teacher is making sure that we're creating a place that our teachers want to come to work. And that does benefit you as students. If you have the best teachers in the state of Nebraska, that's pretty awesome for you, right? And so our goal with that really is to create an environment where not only are students taken care of, but our parents feel supported, our staff feels supported. We're spending our money wisely on the things that really impact you guys on your day-to-day. We're setting policies that not only keep you safe, but also maybe don't make you miserable every day. We want you to want to come to school. And so balancing all of those things, you know, you may not realize it, but a lot of those things do impact you. So it's really cool that you guys are paying attention.
Of course. Wow. That's a lot. So we've talked a lot about you, but we're going to keep going. So why are you running for school board again, or president again? Sorry.
Sure. So I'm just running for my seat on the board again. So I ran 4 years ago. You know, having been a teacher in the district, there were some things that I saw as opportunities where a district could improve. And I saw a lot of great things too, but I saw a few things that really had impacted me as a teacher that I thought, gosh, if somebody would just know about these things or care to try to fix them, we could make this place a lot better. And so that was kind of my driving force. I'm really proud of the work that we've done on the board in the last 4 years. Like, I think that we have seen a lot of great things. You know, we've seen test scores increase in the district, which is not the end all be all, but it is important. We've seen our property taxes actually go down, which has made a lot of our retired individuals very happy to live here in North Platte. We've seen, you know, our retention of students. More students want to go to school here, which is what we want to see. We see more staff staying from year to year, which is also what we want to see. So I think seeing that positive change really has driven me to want to keep going. So it'll be up to, you know, the public will vote. The constituents in Ward 3 will vote on whether or not they would like to reelect me to the board. And then as far as the board president seat, actually, that is elected by the board itself. So every January, the 6 members of the board have a very long and fun meeting where we go through a whole list of things we have to do every January. And one of those is to elect the board president, vice president, and the secretary of the board. So whether or not I get reelected to the board is up to the public. Whether or not I am reelected as president is up to the rest of the board.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. So thank you.
There's a
Yeah,
lot.
you're welcome. There is a lot. Yes.
So can you tell us like a moment or experience that really shaped your perspective of the school board?
Yeah, I think, going back to my teaching experience, that did shape me because I think I used to really operate under the belief that the board didn't make that big of a difference. And I've talked to a lot of people that are like, I don't even know what you do. I don't know. I don't really care. They don't have an opinion. And I think I maybe used to be kind of that individual. And then once you really are engaged as an educator and you start to see the impact of the board's decisions on the things that happen in school buildings, that really shaped me. Like, I take my job on the board very seriously. It's not something that I just, feel like I can show up to a meeting once a month and do some stuff. Like, I really have to do my due diligence to be informed because the decisions that I'm making are impacting so many people, not just all of the students in this building and our hundreds of staff members, but literally the whole community. And that is kind of scary and a lot of pressure when you think about it, but it's really important to understand the significance of those decisions. And I think having lived that experience and seeing that trickle down effect and how it impacted me has really made me pretty cognizant of that.
Do you think there's been like one specific moment on the 4 years that has like just really stuck out to you? Like if like all time best of the school board?
Goodness. I don't know that I could pinpoint one moment, to be honest with you. I think one thing that always really impacts us as a board is just when we get to be engaged with the things that are happening in our buildings. And for a lot of us, graduation is a big piece of that. Like when we're sitting there on the stage at graduation and we're seeing the product of what North Platte Public Schools produces. And we're looking out there and we see, the hundreds of kids that are graduating. They're closing this chapter to their time in North Platte Public Schools, and they're going out to enter into the world and be grown-ups and do whatever dreams they have ahead of them. It's not one moment because it happens every single year, but I think that really is an impactful time for me to just sit back and reflect. And, we don't have a relationship, obviously, with every single kid that graduates from our schools. That would be impossible. But the overall pride that we see from our students that are graduating, it just reminds us why we do what we do. And it's a big moment.
Absolutely. Speaking like of the school district and stuff, what do you think like your perspective is? Like, how do you think the school district is performing like currently?
Yeah. So we have been very data focused lately. I love our new strategic plan that we've implemented this year. I got to be pretty involved in that process, and I'm really excited about the direction that plan is going to take us. It's a lofty plan. I mean, if we cross off everything in that plan in the next 5 years, we should definitely throw a party because it's full of really big goals. But I'm excited about where that's going to take us. And I feel like the momentum is building. Like I can feel really good things happening. And we've seen a lot of data that has supported that. I mentioned earlier, our test scores have gone up significantly, especially here in the high school building. Like you guys are killing it. And that's really cool to see because we're seeing, hey, these decisions that we don't necessarily know at this level what the outcome's going to be. We hope it's good. We hope we're making smart decisions. And then we're seeing our directors and our principals and our superintendent and our teachers putting those plans into action. And I think we're seeing great outcomes from that. One thing that I really enjoyed seeing when we were here for our committee of the whole meeting in the high school, we got to see some data reported like on attendance. Our attendance has improved in our district, which is great. We got to see data, even things like, instances of physical aggression in the building. That's a prime example. I know you guys might not love that you can't have your cell phones all day long, but did you know that there are less than half of the instances of physical aggression this year compared to last year. So those are the things that, you know, when you see that, you may not feel that in your day to day, but when you actually look at the data, I think we're very much trending the right way. And I'm really excited about what we're seeing.
Wow.
So we've talked a lot about how you feel about the school board and stuff, but why should people consider voting for you?
Well, for one, I hope that in my time on the board, you know, that my record speaks for itself a little bit. I'm one of those people, and you've probably gathered it by now. I'm an open book. And so you never have to wonder what I think about something, what my opinion is. If I think it, I'm probably going to say it. And if I have a question, I'm probably going to ask it. And I hope that through that, I've at least shown people, you know, my passion for what I do and hopefully establish some trust in what I do. And so, you know, I would say that's a big reason. I also think that I bring a very unique perspective to the board in that I have one of my Gallup strengths is strategy. And obviously I'm a business owner, so I have a very strategic, analytic approach to a lot of problems. But I also balance that with having actually been a teacher and been in the classrooms and experiencing that. And so I think that is, you know, gives me a great balance of perspectives on the board.
Absolutely. From your perspective, if listeners could remember one thing about you, what would you want that one thing to be?
Ooh, one thing. Man, I'm a hard person to sum up in one thing, to be honest with you. I guess I would hope that listeners would just remember that I really genuinely care and that I am the kind of person that loves to hear from people. So if there's ever anybody that has a question, has a concern, has an idea, a dream, whatever it may be, I hope that they would remember that I'm the kind of person that, you know, is safe to reach out to and that I really value those things.
Amazing.
Yep. And so this is a question we always ask everybody that we have on here. What is your best advice for people our age and students in the high school?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and that is a hard question. I need to go back and watch all of your other episodes and see how everyone else answered this question. I'm curious.
I feel like a lot of them are kind of the same.
Yeah? Well, my answer would be that when you're making decisions in life, your integrity matters more than just about anything. So as you are finishing your high school careers, as you are starting out in what we call the real world, but I mean, high school is real too. I'll give you that. You know, and you're making decisions and you're thinking about what do I want to do in life? What do I want to be? I also hope you think about what kind of person do I want to be? Because all of the other things in the end don't matter nearly as much as you doing what you believe is right. And so if you can make decisions, whether they're popular, whether they are not popular, but you know that you are making them with integrity, then I think you're heading down the right path.
Wow. It's amazing. All right. Well, we've asked a lot of serious questions, though.
You have.
I think we can't keep asking the serious questions.
Thank you.
First question. So you said you taught in the elementary level.
So I have actually taught at all levels, kindergarten through college. But in North Platte, I taught 7th and 8th graders at Adams Middle School.
Okay. So every level, you've taught every level. What do you think your favorite age to teach at is?
So this is what's going to tell you I'm a crazy person, because my favorite age, I intentionally chose middle school. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I get a lot of strange looks when I say that. My first year teaching, I taught K-12, and that was way too much. And I thought I would love kindergartners, and it turns out I don't actually really love kindergartners. I mean, I do, but not teaching them. And I really, really liked my middle school classes. So I purposely sought out a middle school job after that. And for any middle schoolers who are listening to this, I am sorry, but y'all are so awkward, and I love it because you're at such a transformative age. Like, you're still really awesome in your kids, and you don't think you know everything yet, but you're figuring out who you are. And it's really important for middle schoolers to have some grown-ups in their lives that will, you know, kind of redirect them occasionally onto the right path. And I really liked seeing that. And, you know, in art, like, you get to see some creative sides of people sometimes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so you combine art with middle school, this awkward phase of life, it was beautiful.
The best of the best.
The best of the best. Yes.
Blake, got any questions?
Yeah, so you said that you went to McCook and you graduated from McCook. So,
Yep.
like, what do you think are, like, some differences between McCook and here? Because I know we go to McCook a lot for, like, sports and stuff. So I've always kind of been curious about that.
Yeah, I think truly at probably like the lower grades levels, I don't know that there's a huge difference from our school district to smaller schools, because I think our elementaries in particular allow our students to really have like a small community growing up and see the same faces and all of that. And so I think at that setting, it's honestly kind of similar to a smaller community. But I think when you start getting into middle school and high school, one thing that I've seen and really appreciate about North Platte is just the opportunities that you guys have. And McCook was a great school. I loved graduating from school there, so I'm not dogging on them at all. But in a community this size, like even just the fact that you guys have this studio and get to do this is not something that all high schools get to do. And so I think that that's really cool. Like you guys are exposed to so many things, and you're going to graduate high school having a lot more skill sets and knowing what your passions are, where in some smaller environments, they may not get that until they go to college or graduate high school and go get a job somewhere. So that's the main difference I see. And I think it's a really good positive thing for us.
Wow. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
thank
you
you.
guys for having me.
We wish you the best of luck. We hope that whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens will happen, no matter what.
Yeah.
So only wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for coming on again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And I'm Will.
I'm Blake.
Thank you for watching.